Sometimes a problem can be completely hidden from view, but you feel its effects every single day. That's kind of what urethral stricture disease is like. So today, we're going to pull back the curtain on this whole thing. We'll demystify what it is, and more importantly, talk about how modern surgery has shifted its focus from just managing the problem to actually curing it for good. Okay, so here's our game plan. We'll kick things off with what this hidden obstruction actually is. Then, we'll dig into the causes and how doctors figure it out. We'll look at how treatments have changed, get into the nitty-gritty of grafts versus flaps, see how modern surgery works its magic, and finally, check out what the future holds. Let's get started.
All right, first things first, let's tackle what this whole thing is really about.
So, what is a urethral stricture? I know, the name sounds kind of medical and complicated, but the idea behind it, it's actually pretty simple when you break it down.
Okay, so think of your urethra like a garden hose. It's supposed to be a nice, open tube. A stricture is basically a buildup of scar tissue inside that tube. And this isn't soft, flexible tissue. No, this stuff is tough and rigid. It's like a clog or a kink forming in the hose, creating a serious bottleneck. The medical term for this scarring is spongiofibrosis, and it's what makes it so hard for urine to get through.
So, the next logical questions are, right, how does this even happen? And once it's there, how in the world do doctors get a good look at it to figure out what to do? I mean, you can't fix a problem you can't properly see.
This is where it gets really interesting. You'd think there'd be one main culprit, but check this out. For a huge chunk, about a third of cases, we actually don't know the cause. Doctors call this idiopathic. Then another third comes from previous medical procedures. They call that iatrogenic. And the rest is split between injuries and infections. So right off the bat, you can see there's no single simple answer here.
And because the causes are so varied, getting a precise diagnosis is absolutely crucial. A surgeon needs a detailed roadmap before they can even think about fixing it. So they use a whole toolkit. Things like x-rays with a special dye to map out the length and location, a tiny little camera to get a direct look inside, and even ultrasound to see how deep and dense that scar tissue really is. It's all about planning to get it right.
Okay, we know what it is and how doctors find it. So how do they fix it? This is where the story takes a really cool turn, because the whole mindset around treatment has done a complete 180.
Yeah, check this out. The old school way of thinking was this thing called the reconstructive ladder. The idea was you start with the simplest, easiest fix. If it didn't work, well, you just do it again and again. You'd only move on to the big, complex surgery as a last resort. It was a frustrating cycle for a lot of people. But the modern approach, it throws that ladder right out the window. Now the goal is to assess the problem accurately and go straight for the permanent cure. The whole idea is to fix it once and fix it right.
So how do they pull off this permanent cure? Well, it's all about reconstruction, literally rebuilding the damaged part. And to do that, surgeons have two main tools in their toolbox: grafts and flaps. Now, these two words might sound similar, but understanding the difference between them is absolutely key to getting how this all works.
At its heart, the idea is pretty straightforward. You're basically taking a piece of healthy tissue from one part of the body and moving it to repair the damaged part. Simple enough, right?
Well, this is where the magic is. It's all about how you move that tissue. So a graft, that's a piece of tissue you completely detach, move it, and place it in the new spot. It's on its own. It has to grow a completely new blood supply to survive. Now, a flap is different. You move the tissue, but you keep it connected to its original blood supply. It brings its own plumbing, its own life support system with it. The best way to think about it is this. A graft is like taking a cutting from a plant and trying to get it to root. A flap is like moving a tree with the whole root ball still attached. One is a lot more self-sufficient from the get-go. Okay, so now we get the difference between grafts and flaps. Let's see how surgeons actually put these principles into practice to get that permanent fix we've been talking about. All right, for shorter blockages, this is the top-tier gold standard repair. And the key word here is excise. The surgeon doesn't just stretch or patch the bad part. They cut the entire scarred section clean out. Think of it exactly like a plumber finding a rusty section of pipe. They don't just sand it down, right? They cut it out and connect the two good ends back together. That's what this is. You're left with a wide-open, healthy channel that's built to last. But, okay, what if the damaged section is really long? You can't just cut out, say, 6 inches of pipe and expect the ends to meet without a problem, right? There'd be way too much tension. So in those cases, surgeons have to switch gears. Instead of just removing the bad part, they'll slice it open lengthwise and patch it to make it wider.
And this is where grafts really shine. So if you need a patch, where's the best place to get it from? This is one of my favorite parts of this whole story because the answer is so clever and honestly a little unexpected. You ready for this? It's the inside of your cheek. Seriously, the tissue lining your mouth, the oral mucosa, turns out to be almost the perfect material for the job. Think about it. It's naturally tough, it's used to being in a wet environment 24/7, it heals super fast because of a great blood supply, and harvesting a small piece is pretty simple. It has been an absolute game changer in this field. It's now the #1 choice for surgeons all over the world. So when you put all this together, the modern approach, the advanced surgical techniques, these amazing graft materials, what does it all mean for someone facing this? What's the bottom line?
Well, the outlook is fantastic. I mean, just look at this number. For that gold standard repair, the one where they cut out the bad section, the long-term success rate is over 90%. That's huge. That's not just making it better for a while. For most people, that's a permanent one-and-done cure.
So, what's the big picture here? What should you really take away from all this? First, modern reconstruction is incredibly successful, and it's all about aiming for a cure from day one. That old, frustrating ladder approach of doing things over and over, it's gone. Surgeons now have these amazing techniques to fix even really complicated problems. And the ultimate goal is always the same: restore normal function and give people back their quality of life.
And that brings us to one last really cool thought about what's next. I mean, using your own cheek tissue is brilliant, but what if you didn't have to? What if a surgeon could just grab a perfectly engineered lab-grown piece of tissue right off the shelf? No need to harvest it from anywhere else on your body. Well, that might sound like science fiction, but it's not. That's the next frontier, and scientists are working on it right now.